Hi, welcome to this video. My name is Sally Ann Lambert, and I have a company called Super Intelligent Astrology. It's fixed star astrology, and it's based on astronomy. So we're looking at the star alGol. You might have heard of alGol. It's one of the most scary stars in the tradition of astrology. So let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen with you. So a little bit of scientific information. This star has something unusual about it because it blinks. And I think this is why that the star had gotten this reputation, apart from some synchronicities that play into, the traditional importance of fixed stars. And so I got so much stuff that I'm going to go through, and I'm trying to actually cut it right down and just let you look at some of these graphics on your own after I kind of summarize it. The thing about the star is that it's not just twinkling, it actually blinks, which I don't know if there's any other star in our sky that does that, that we can actually see that. And the reason that it blinks is because it's two stars orbiting each other really closely. It's actually four, but two main stars in the center. And because their orbit is edge on towards us, so when they're turning around each other, it looks like a blink. And long ago, 7.3 million years ago, the star was really close to us, only 6.9 light years away. But now it's a long way off. It's 90 light years. This is not that far away for a star, but I mean, how did it get so far away so kind of quickly? So when it was that close, it must have been super dramatic, even though that was a long time ago. But that blinking from a real close distance must have really, just been such a dramatic part of our night sky. So yeah. So I'm gonna just skip past the rest of the science, but I'll put the graphic up so you can have a look through it. I want to draw your attention to the auspices at the top. So these are the auspices of step 1 in my program, because step 2 is a lot more deep and takes a lot more reflection. And then step 3, it can be pretty serious stuff, or stuff that just really does take quite a bit of reflection and quite some deep reflection on the case studies. One thing about the science that I want to point out, as you can see in the graphic, the two stars are super close to each other. They're just like a fraction of the distance between, just to compare, between Mercury and our sun. So like 6.9% of the distance. So that is really close. So one star is actually taking mass from the other star as they orbit around each other, which actually prevents the other star from going nova. Which is like a supernova, but the star doesn't completely explode. It just like little lesser explosions. So, yeah, that's what's happening with those two stars. So I want to show you some case studies. Okay, the auspices. If it's a woman who has the star figuring in her chart, like you have a planet on this star, you would be a tall woman or a woman with high cheekbones, also nose, but especially the cheekbones. If it's a man, it'll be some woman in his life, and this can be a very fated love, very intense. And this is the, like your true love. And then an exquisite person, incredible steadiness. And that can be kind of a mixed bag. You're going to see the case studies. And giving is foundational to love. And I think that is the beautiful part of alGol. So I'm trying to bring out a lot of positive things, and the astronomy really helps me to do that. So let's look at our case studies just quickly. This lady up here on the top left, she was a serial killer. She is a Mexican serial killer. Look how tall she is, 6'1". She's a Mexican, and Mexican ladies are often very petite, very, very petite. So 6'1", super tall for a Mexican woman. Tom Cruise, his wife, Nicole, I think she was his one true love. And she 5'10.5 inches. Here on the lower left, Sofia Coppola, she is a director, film director, and very high cheekbones. Kanye West. Now, Kim Kardashian is not tall, but she has really high cheekbones. And then Johnny Depp, he had a very fated marriage with Amber Heard. I don't think she's the one. I think it's Kate Moss. Kate Moss has really high cheekbones. Neither of them are very tall, but very high cheekbones. Kate Moss, she's a supermodel. And they were together about like 14 years, I think. And she cried for a long time after they broke up. So I won't go into all of the auspices for step one, but you can have a look at it. Maybe I'll post up some information to support that. And so I want to go into some synchronicity from history. So starting with 1866, there's some themes that come together with this star. And I'd like to think that we're going from negative to positive, although it's very challenging. So this is more of a mundane astrology interpretation. So it's not the same as personal astrology, but we're looking at the, I mean, it kind of relates, but we're looking at things that happen on a worldwide scale, like events rather than your personal chart. So nuclear science is one of the themes, and eugenics and nuclear bomb and genetic. There's a certain genetic project, and I think in the end we're coming into some other areas of genetics, which I'll get to. So in 1866, on the 1st of June, this man who was a prominent eugenicist was born, and he had 60,000 Americans sterilized because he had judged them unfit. And he was a strong influence on the later genocide in Nazi Germany. One other thing that happened with a person born in this year, so this year was the time Mercury was on alGol, and at that time, these two people were born. This eugenicist was born when Mercury was on alGol, and this Egyptologist was born, who financed and attended at the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, which released a curse onto the people involved. You know, a lot of them lived a long life, but especially high proportion of them had died a nasty death after, because the tomb had a curse on it because they don't want people to rob it. And all of the other tombs had already been robbed, but only this one had been survived up until then. So this guy, George Herbert, he got taken out by the curse. He got a mosquito bite 4 months after the tomb was opened. He died from the infection of this mosquito bite in Cairo. I want to go through all of them in too much detail, but 1879 and 1880, Pluto was on alGol. Einstein was born, Otto Hahn was born, both of them key figures in the development of the atomic bomb. The father of nuclear chemistry, Otto Hahn, and Einstein really pushed for the bomb to be made during World War II and enabled the science behind it. And also there was a guy called Trotsky, who was a major player in the communist revolution in Russia. He was born then too. Who died in that year was James Clerk Maxwell, a Scottish physicist who laid the foundations of the new science of physics. So moving right along, 1920, it was just the very day before the moon passed over alGol, which happens all the time, you know, probably once a month. But anyway, on this date, a film was made called alGol Tragedy of Power. It's a silent film that was made in Germany. The film was lost and then it was rediscovered. So I'm gonna move on. 16th of July, 1945, Mars was on alGol, just barely. First atomic bomb test, and then very soon after that, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so what happened when these cities were bombed, because of all the effect of the genetic damage that was done to people and mutations that occurred, you know, with the births that occurred in the contaminated region. So they started this genetic research project called the Human Genome Project. And I think the purpose of it was to decode the human genome. So that basically they're mapping the DNA of a human being. And that came out of the atomic bombing of Japanese people. So when Saturn was on alGol in the year 2000, the Genome Project was completed. And I noticed some synchronicities with myself. So at that time, I also completed a phase of study where I was moving from teaching study and language study towards working in the field. And I was about to leave for Asia, and I was about to start a project in linguistics to bring about racial harmony. So then in 2006, when Mercury was on alGol, the last chromosome of the Genome Project was published. At that time, I was about to publish my first dictionary. And then Venus was on alGol in 2008, when there was a law passed to protect people from having their genetic information used against them. But it wasn't everybody, it was only people who didn't have symptoms of some diseases that, you know, they could be discriminated against. At that time in my synchronicity, I was doing some travel after publishing my first dictionary, and I was getting ready to do my second dictionary. And what was to be in that was a lot of pioneering linguistic concepts, still ahead of its time. So moving on to 2010, this is when the alGol film was rediscovered, and it was shown. At that time, the Affordable Care Act was passed, And that made it illegal to discriminate against anybody based on their genetic information. So in that time, I was getting ready to publish my second dictionary. Coming along to 2021, this is when I discovered this film about alGol. I closed it out. I will put a link to the film so that you can have a look at it. The story is that there's a coal miner, and while he's working in the mine, alGol, the star alGol, appears in the mine as a person who has come to help with the mining. And he has this idea for a machine which is going to free the people out of the mines, and it's going to produce energy for free. So he gets this machine, the plan for this machine, and he builds it. And this is the story about the tragedy of power. So I guess that's the summary, right there. So what I wanted to add is that it's kind of, decoding life, we're decoding the atomic structure of life, we're decoding the human genome, and I'm decoding linguistics in a much more powerful way, but I'm challenging racism at the same time. So that has not been easy. And I've also been decoding the messages from the stars through astronomy. What I really want to see happen in the genetic field is for us to stop buying genetically modified food. So I want to really ask you, please try not to buy and eat genetically modified food. It's going to help your health a lot, and it'll help you to not have anxiety attacks, and it will help you to not have stomach problems and bloating and all kinds of problems caused by inflammation. And it will be a lot of help to animals if we can stop feeding that to them. Okay. What's happening right now today is a full moon. It's a full moon in Scorpio, and it's opposite the sun in Taurus. So right now the sun is conjunct Uranus, and Uranus can be a scary planet, brings surprises and change and revolution, and technical wizardry. Also conjunct Uranus and the sun is Venus and Mars. And other planets that are coming along towards Taurus, we have Jupiter and Saturn. All of these planets were together in Capricorn during 2020, and they've slowly been moving out, some faster than others. So pretty soon we're going to have the sun, Venus, and Mercury on alGol. Mars has passed alGol already, and Mars is in Gemini now. But the sun, Venus, and Mercury will be hitting there. And in probably some years' time, I'm going to say roughly maybe 3 years' time, we're going to have Uranus on alGol. Now, alGol is a star in the zodiac sector of Taurus in the constellation of Perseus. So Taurus, agriculture, I really believe that it's very important for us to take action to stop giving our money to evil science that is creating GMOs and creating disease and disaster and spiritual disaster as well, because I believe the genetic the genetic part of us is also a spiritual part of us. So I think that is going to help us a lot, and that by the time that Uranus gets to alGol in a few years' time, that we will be already on the way to ending this whole disaster of genetic modification. So I think this is exactly where the film can teach us that, you know, what is the tragedy of power. And so this is what I want to leave with you, and wish you all well. And please do join my Facebook group. It's called a Fixed Star Guidance System. And thank you for watching. Let me just come back and, okay, hi. So yeah, just say goodbye face to face. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this interpretation of alGol from, it's still a scary star, but I'd like to say that it can help us a lot. So if we, you know, take our responsibilities seriously, alGol can help us a lot. And, you know, I'll put up more information, and I'll put these graphics up so you can look at it in more detail. All right. And you might want to have a look at your chart and see if there's anything on there at 26. If you look at your chart, in the year 2000, the star was at 26 Taurus, 26 degrees and 10 minutes of Taurus. So going back to the time that you were born, or maybe forward if you're younger, it's about 8 minutes plus or minus for every 10 years, or 84 minutes for a century. So that's how you can just kind of roughly estimate the movement of the star. So you can try and figure out if it's, you know, really close to a planet. Okay, I'll stop talking. Thank you for watching, and wish you well.